tomorrow. The purpose is not only to give you a certificate. The purpose is make you believe on 4 important philosophies. The purpose is to make you practice 4 important philosophies or principles in your workplace. What are those 4 important philosophies? The first point is Six Sigma way of problem solving. As a professional, you all will be coming across a lot of problems, isn't it? Every day. There are customer complaints, there are internal failures, there are external failures, and deliveries are not happening on time, and quality issues. There are many things you come across. Whether the problem is your customer's problem or your organization problem, you have to solve it. And that is why the company has hired you, and that is why you are there in the company, right? And how do you solve the problem? Do you solve the problem and then you make sure the same problem doesn't come again in the future? Or will you solve the problem and allow the problem to come again and again? If you allow the problem to come again and again, it simply means you have not solved it. It simply means your approach is trial and error. When you follow trial and error, the problem will come again and again. If you continue running the process, same failure will happen again and again. But when you solve it systematically, you will fix the problem at the root level. The advantage is the moment you fix any problem at the root level, the same problem will not come again. Maybe a new problem can come. If the new problem comes, that's another project. But one day your organization will become problem free. That is called systematic way of problem solving. And one of the systematic approach of problem solving is Six Sigma methodology or Six Sigma way of problem solving. Any problem can be solved permanently. All that required is you must want to solve the problem and arrest the problem at the root level. Once your intentions are clear, Six Sigma will definitely make you do that. That is first philosophy. And the second one, all of you should be able to understand the importance of using the appropriate tools and appropriate techniques while solving a problem. There are a lot of tools and techniques we come across. In addition to the physical tools, machineries, whatever you are using. Same way, when you are in a project mode, when you are in a problem solving mode, there are a lot of tools you need to use. Sometimes you need to use the quality control tools, which we will be discussing as part of the training program, the 7 QC tools. And it could be a decision-making tool, right? And it could be the team management tool, or it could be the project management tool. If you make a correct choice of the tool for a particular task, you will know the success rate of your project will increase, or the probability of success will increase. At the same time, if you make a wrong choice, what will happen? The probability of failure will increase. As the probability of failure increases, instead of producing success out of your project may end up as a failure. This is one big reason why Six Sigma projects fail. When professionals are trying to apply Six Sigma, most of the time they fail to produce the result. And one big reason is there is a big confusion which tool to be used for a particular task, right? And it depends on the situation, depends on the kind of data you are using. So we are going to learn everything from the fundamentals. And the third philosophy I want all of you to appreciate is data-driven decision making. When you are solving a problem, automatically a lot of opinion comes. The opinion can come from your colleagues, can come from your boss. Sometimes the opinion may come from some experts also. But who is responsible for solving the problem? Only you are responsible for solving the problem. So you have a responsibility to understand whether the opinion is just an opinion or it is a fact. If the opinion is fact, then you have to take action. If the opinion is just an opinion, nothing wrong, listen to it. You listen to the opinion, note it down, but don't take any action. So you should be able to draw a clear boundary line between opinion and fact. How do you know whether it is fact or not? You must collect the data. You must collect the data because data will speak the reality. If you collect the data, your data will speak the reality. Reality is nothing but the fact. So Billy, always ask for the data. Always ask for the data. When you use the data, you will be able to validate the opinion. If the opinion gets validated, the opinion becomes a fact. If the opinion becomes a fact, you can make changes in your organization. If the opinion is not a fact, better ignore the opinion and you try to understand the problem deeper by other methods, right? And also when you collect the data, it very easily data can come with error. Always, whenever anybody collects the data, data comes with the error. Broadly, there are two types of error. One is measurement error. Another one is sampling error. What is measurement error? If you measure in a wrong way, your data cannot speak the fact, right? And that is called measurement error. If you collect the data from an irrelevant source, for example, you want to understand problem about a machine number 1, but your team members are bringing you the data from machine number 2. Will it help you to understand the problem? No. So this is called sampling error. So earlier I told you use data to validate the opinion, but now I'm telling you, you should be careful while using the data also. When to use data and when not to use data, you should have the clarity. If the data comes with a lot of error, no, better ignore the data. But if the data comes with a error less than 10%, then your data is worthy for analysis. And what is this 10%? All that we will be discussing in the measure phase, right, of the DMAC, right? So this is what we call it, data-driven decision making. Our decision should be only based on the facts, not on the opinion. For that, we always use data which is credible for analysis. Uncredible and unworthy data, we don't use it for any analysis. Clear? So this is the third philosophy. And last but not the least, it is very important you stay customer-centric and process-centric at any stage of your project. Project means you will be doing a lot of activities, right? And 6 months project. And then at the end of the 6 months, you produce the result. But a project will have n number of activities. Every activity, there will be an output. Every activity, there will be an output. And that output will go to someone. For example, right now, I am talking to all of you, right? My audio is the output. And now it is, who is receiving my audio as well as the video? All of you. So you are the customers. And now who is giving you the output? No, and you are receiving the output, and who is giving you the result? And I am giving you. So I am considered the supplier. So likewise, you should always try to visualize the immediate customer who will be receiving your output. Whatever you are doing, let's say you are taking a printout, and now who is going to receive the printout? Is it your boss or is it your colleague, or are you going to give it to your our external customer? You should know, so that you can actually prepare it according to exactly with the requirement. This is what is called customer centric. When I say customer, most of the time we simply believe it is end user. Who is end user? The one who pays for your products, one who pays for your service. He is called end user. But there are two more type of customers. They are called internal customers and the external customer. You must have clarity. You should be able to differentiate the three. Who is an end user? Who is an internal customer? Who is an external customer? And you need to know to whom your output is reaching. Is it reaching your end user? Then you have to work accordingly. If it goes to some internal customer, then you must understand his requirement. If it goes to some external customer, then you must understand his requirement. And this is what I mean, customer centric and then process centric. Be devoted to the process. Process will take care of the results. Don't be too much worried about the result, right? And be devoted to the process and take care of the process. Your process will take care of the result. And these are the 4 important outcomes expected from the training program. this program is going to impact your skill in these lines. As an yellow belt, you will understand, you will not only understand, you will also be able to practice the Six Sigma way of problem solving. You will be equipped to select the right tools and techniques in any stage of your project. You will be equipped to work with the data. You will know the importance of data, and you will also learn how to collect the data without error. So that is the main goal. Please understand. Yellow belt's role in a project is mainly to assist the project team. As an yellow belt, you are not going to lead a complex project. No, your role is limited to support the project team with your contribution, and your contribution is mainly data collection, data visualization, and then the project support activities. So that you will be able to understand the importance of data in the project problem solving project, and then being customer centric and process centric is also equally important. Hope this is sounding good with all of you. So madam has already read my profile, so I'm not going to read it again. So my name is Dr. Gopal Sivakumar. I hold a doctorate degree and I'm a black belt. And my experience in helping people learn Lean Six Sigma tools and techniques is somewhere in the order of 6,600 plus hours. That means you can make best use of the time you are spending with me in enriching your understanding on Lean Six Sigma body of knowledge. All right. And now it is time for all the yellow belts here. If there are any specific expectation you have, you can speak out, right? And then I will take you through the first section of the program. The first section will give you an introduction, will introduce you to the world of Six Sigma, to the world of Lean, and the basics, principles of quality, and basic principles of Six Sigma. So that is going to be my first session. And before that, if there is anything you would like to convey to me as your expectations from the program, please go ahead and you can introduce yourself, and also you can also explain me about what are you doing in your company, what kind of products and services you are making, and then your specific requirement from this training program, and so that I will try to customize it to the extent possible. Yes, time is yours. Who is going to talk first? We can have for about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes for your introduction. You want me to call you by name? Shall I stop sharing the screen so that it will be easy for you? So I stopped sharing the screen. Okay, I will call whom I can see on top of my screen. I think Mr. Patel is visible to me right on the top of my screen. So Patel, can you give me some idea about your background, your expectation,